Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gift. In this video I'll be making this beautiful asymmetric waistline top with open back. I'll be drafting the pattern first before transferring it to my fabric. So my pattern paper is already folded into two. I have a straight line at the top which is going to serve as the shoulder line. From the shoulder line I'll start taking my vertical measurements. From my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches. I'm going to mark it down. From my shoulder to my waistline is 15 inches. I'm going to mark that down. Then from my shoulder to my top length is 21 inches. I'm going to add 2 inches seam allowance to it, making it 23 inches. You can take whatever length you want to. So I'm going to roll out all these dots on straight lines. Then I'm going to label the lines. The first line is my bust point line, then the second line is my waistline, then the last line is my top length. On my shoulder line, I'm going to mark my shoulder measurements divided by 2, which is 8 inches. I'm going to mark it at the top of the paper like this. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch from that 8 inches as my shoulder slope. Then from the shoulder slope I'm going to come down by my round armhole measurements divided by 2, which is 8 inches. So I'm going to connect the armhole measurements to the shoulder slope on a straight line like this. Then I'm going to roll out straight line across the armhole line, and this line is going to serve as my chest line. From the center of the paper at the top, I'm going to mark the width of my neckline, which is 3 inches. Then I'm going to come down by 3 inches as the depth. Then I'm going to connect the width and the depth together. Now I'm going to connect the shoulder slope to the neckline area like this. To get the midpoint of the armhole line, I'm going to divide the armhole line into 2. So I'm going to fold my tape into 2 equal parts like this to get the center, that is the midpoint. Then I'm going to go out by half an inch from that midpoint. On my chest line, I'm going to mark my bust measurements divided by 4 plus 1 inch seam allowance. So I'm adding 1 inch seam allowance to this top because I'm using a stretchy fabric. So if you're using a normal fabric, you can decide to use the 1 inch or 1.5 inch or inches or 2 inches, so your allowance will be enough. Then I'm going to connect half an inch from the midpoint to the bust measurement on the chest line. So on my waistline, I'm going to mark my waist measurement divided by 4 plus half an inch seam allowance. So I told you guys earlier I'm making use of a stretchy fabric and I don't want the waist fabric to be much. So on the top length line, I'm going to mark my hip measurements divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. So I'm adding 2 inches to the hip measurement so that part will be free, because that part will be sitting on my waist and what I'm going to wear under the top. So I connected all the dots together. Now I'm cutting out the excess parts of the paper I don't need. Now I'm going to open up the paper, so ensure your paper is folded into 2 before you draft this. So for the asymmetric waistline, on this part of the paper where I already have my lines, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch from my waistline. So from this point I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch from my waistline. I'm going to mark it. Then from this other end, I'm going to come out by 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect both dots together like this. So after using this part of the straight ruler, I'm just going to use my free hand on this part to make that side curvy so that it will not just be straight. So you can go ahead and make yours curvy. So I'm just going to use my free hand and curve out the line a bit. Then I'm going to cut out the part I don't need from the pattern. So this is it for the front pattern. I'm going to use this to cut my fabric. So I'm done cutting the front fabric. You can see I added half an inch allowance round the whole fabric. This is what I have. So make sure your pattern is opened on your fabric before cutting it because of the slanted waistline. Now I'm going to be using the same pattern to cut the back. So from this point I'm going to come out by 2 inches. So you can decide to take 1.5 or 1 inch there. So the more you take, the lesser you take it, the wider the back is going to be open. For me, I want to take 2 inches, so I marked 2 inches there. So for the width of the neckline, for the depth of the neckline rather, you can choose to take your chest line. I just cut out the chest line from it, or you can decide to make it deep. So I'm just going to come down a bit by 1.5 inch from my chest line. Then I'm going to cut it out. So the depth of the back depends on how open you want your back to be. So you can go ahead and curve it. If you want it deeper, you can come down, or if you just want it to stop at your chest line, you can just do that for the back. So this is what I have for the back. I went ahead to cut my fabric also. I added half an inch all around the fabric. So I'm going to unpin the paper from the fabric so that you guys can see it clearly. So this is what I have for the back. Now you can go ahead and cut out your lining piece just the way your fabric is if you're making use of a lining. So I'm making this top for the purpose of this tutorial, so I'll not be using a lining piece for it. So I went ahead to turn the back neckline with a facing. So I'm using the same fabric as the facing inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add hemming gum in it, and I'm going to iron it. So I would advise you to use a lining piece to line this top so it will look more neater and more professional if you're making it for someone or for yourself. So even the front neckline too, I've turned it with a facing also. So I'm just going to iron it with an hemming gum down. So when I was doing the facing with it, I added the hemming gum to the middle, so that will be easier for you. You sew it along with your hemming gum if you want to use a facing. So I'm going to join the two shoulders together. So the two right sides of the fabric are facing each other. Then I'm going to pin the shoulders together. Then I'm going to join the shoulders. So before you join the shoulders, make sure you've turned your armhole also if you're not using a lining piece. So after joining the shoulders, I'm going to close up the sides with my measurements. So I'm using a stretchy fabric, so I'm just going to close it up. If you're not using a stretchy fabric, I would advise you to add your zipper to the side. The short side of it, you add your zipper there so you'll be able to wear it freely. I'm now closing up the both sides, and this is what I have. Now I'm just going to weave the hemline and the armhole. So with this, we have come to the end of this tutorial. Thanks for watching to this point. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber, and I'll see you all in my next video.